All right, section 11, chapter 11, learning objective 9. We're going to pick up and we're going to begin talking about the second line defenses. And we're going to be looking at those cellular portion of the second line defenses. Learning objective 9 says describe lymph and how it is collected and filtered. So first we're going to talk about some body fluids, and then figure 11.4 goes into the details of how we collect and filter. So first, there are three ways that we can classify body fluids for people. They are all the same fluid. It's just when they are found in different places, we give them different names. So, one word that describes our body fluids is plasma. This is when we find fluids in the cardiovascular system. A second time in plasma, this will be contained within blood vessels. As this fluid leaks out of or oozes out of the blood vessels, it then becomes what is known as interstitial fluid. This can also be called extracellular fluid. Either way, we are now outside of the blood vessels and we are meandering about different tissues. So remember, blood vessels will deliver water and nutrients to cells. It has to leave those blood vessels. Sometimes it will go into another cell. Sometimes it will also just meander between cells. When it is between the blood vessels in our next area, we call it interstitial. A third word to describe all of these is lymph. When this same fluid then migrates from the interstitial area back into the lymph vessels, so plasma found in blood vessels, lymph is going to be found in lymph vessels. Now the fluid is in the lymphatic or the immune system. And anytime we're either not in a blood vessel or not in a lymph vessel, we are between and we are in the interstitial fluid. The reason that we need the lymphatic system, as well as it's helping with our immune system and our defense, the lymph is a way that we can drain the liquids that come into the interstitial area. If we don't drain that interstitial area, those fluids would just begin to build back up. They don't easily flow back into blood vessels. So the lymph is a way for us to make sure we drain this interstitial, and then the lymph will eventually bring back this fluid back into the blood vessels, and we'll describe that process in a minute. So these are the three basic terms we give to the fluids in our body. It's just the same fluid, different name depending on where it happens to be at the time. So now we can look at figure 11.4. So blood, I'm representing with our red here, contains plasma. As the plasma oozes out of the blood vessels, it will then become part of the interstitial. Fluid. So here my plasma is in my blood vessel. So the red is my blood vessel. The fluid outside of it is the interstitial fluid. And then the fluid does not go back into the blood vessels, but instead it will go into the lymph vessels. And as soon as the interstitial fluid moves into that, the lymph will now reside within that lymph vessel. The lymph system has a series of lymph vessels that goes throughout most of the body. It almost parallels the blood vessel system. So the lymphatic and the cardiovascular system pretty much parallel each other. As opposed though to having a heart pump things around, lymph will move only by the smooth muscle contracting around the lymph vessels, similar to how the veins will get blood back to the heart. And as it does so, it will pump it to an area that is actually near the heart. As it does, it will pass through lymph nodes and the spleen, but eventually you will have one place near the heart, which I'll also draw over here. You can see I have some wonderful artistic skills. So you have blood vessels that come out, you have blood vessels that go back, and then you have this lymph system that parallels it. And at one particular place near the heart, all of the lymph vessels will eventually drain back into the cardiovascular system. And at that point, the lymph will flow through here. It'll flow back in the cardiovascular system. It is now plasma again. It can then run through the heart and the lungs and go back out through the body. So you can also see that demonstrated in figure 11.4. So that is a description of the lymph and how it is collected and filtered.